Welcome to the show. I'm your host, Angelo Santabarbara, and today we are going to talk with a representative from the Red Cross of Northeastern New York, Julie Pariato, who is a regional preparedness associate. Given the recent flooding in the area and the natural disasters that have occurred and seem to be occurring more and more, this show will cover what's called a Go Kit and helping you be more prepared when natural disasters strike the area. So, Julie, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Thank you for being here.
No problem.
Today, we are going to talk about something called a Go Kit. But before we do that, can you tell us a little bit about the American Red Cross?
Sure. As many people know, we do all sorts of things at the Red Cross. We have different departments that handle things like things to do with the armed forces. We have health and safety classes. We have emergency services that deal with the flooding, things like the flooding in Montgomery County and the other nearby counties. And then we have the preparedness team, which help to get people prepared for whatever disasters are headed their way.
And with going back to the flooding that happened in Fort Plain, from what I understand, the Red Cross mobilized and was on the ground within a matter of hours. And is the first thing, I believe the first thing you did was set up the shelter.
Yes.
Now, is that usually normal, where you try and find a location for a shelter immediately when you go into an area that's been affected?
Well, what we do is we try to have these locations picked beforehand. People volunteer their locations in order to have shelters. So when something happens, we already know these people are available, this building's available, and we can start moving immediately.
And we certainly appreciate the efforts of the American Red Cross in Fort Plain and in the surrounding areas as well. So people don't know when flooding occurs. It happens very quickly. So sometimes they find themselves being evacuated at a moment's notice. But one of the things we talked about is something called a Go Kit. And I see you have plenty of items here to talk about that you're going to share with the audience. So what is a Go Kit and how can it help?
So a Go Kit is basically just a bag of things that are already lying around your house normally, and you put them in an old backpack, something you don't use very often or you don't really have any need for anymore. Put it all in there, and then you put it in an easy place to grab in case you have to get out of your house. Sometimes if there's a flood or some sort of disaster, you don't need to leave your house. Maybe you do, maybe you don't. You just need to run upstairs, get away from the first floor, something like that. So you can grab this Go Kit and go wherever you need to go, outside or further, up in your house, whatever the need may be.
And what you said is absolutely right. Some of these things are already around the house. They're just not assembled in a package. Things like flashlights I see, and gloves, and we'll go through some of the items. This information, we're going to go through some of these things now, what goes into a Go Kit. But this information, if somebody misses something or misses part of the show, they can go onto your website to find out what is recommended for a Go Kit?
Absolutely. So you can go on redcross.org. You can search preparing. You can look at our apps. We have a bunch of different apps that we're being recognized for currently. Our first aid app, they're all free to download, has a checklist that you can mark off as you're in the grocery store or in your house. Check it off as you put it in the bag, and then when it's complete, you know it is all ready to go. So we can look it up online or on the app, whichever you would like to do.
That's in the age of smartphones, the apps that you have are really actually quite useful.
Yes.
And again, those can be found on your website.
Yep, they can be found on our website. They can be found in the any of the stores that you get the apps in on your phone.
Yeah.
Just look for Red Cross. They all pop up. There's a bunch of them, 6 or 7, I think.
And I think I remember seeing one that was actually gives you the status of shelters, whether they're open, nearest one.
So we have a hurricane app, tornado app, and the list goes on and on as far as the disasters are concerned. So you can look up and see if there's a shelter in your area that's available or that's open. If you can't get online, maybe all you have is your phone, then you can look it up through that. It's a lot easier.
Excellent, excellent. We thank you for putting that together. And if you haven't downloaded some of these useful apps, it's great to have them on your phone. They don't take up any space at all.
Not really, no. They're just in the phone. You use them when you need them. That's the point.
So back to the Go Kits. Let's go through some of the items that we are going to recommend for putting together a Go Kit at home.
Okay, so for an example, obviously we have our Red Cross bag, and you can buy one of these with all of these things and a few extra items on our website, redcross.org. If you don't want to do that, that's okay. But it is available for anybody who likes. We also have a smaller version, I think, without the water and food. So Things that would go in a go kit. First of all, the kind of bag you want. You want to have something that is waterproof if possible, but not necessary. You know, this is nylon, works totally fine. Anything that's strong enough to hold the kind of weight that you're going to put in it, which is going to be a little bit heavy with the water and whatnot. So big things you want to put in there. Water, originally, always a good thing. We have these drinking packets, water packets that you can put in there. These don't sell right off the shelves. As you can see, you can't really buy them at your local grocery store, but they're great and they're easy. So there are a bunch of different little packets. I think there's about a dozen in there that you can use. And
these can be, like you're saying, can be ordered, or a bottle of water is just as good, and that can last a while as well.
That's right. Yep. So that's the water. I can put this in our go kit so we can zip it up at the end. Okay. And then we have, so this is another thing that it would have to be a special order. So these are emergency rations, not delicious by any standing, I would definitely have to say. But they are useful. I mean, they're great. They will keep you alive. They won't keep you happy, but now, they will keep you alive.
This would be the equivalent of what I recall as an MRE, basic training in the military, sort of a dehydrated type of food.
That's right. So you would open it and put water in it, and it would form into what probably may look like food, but no matter what, it's definitely edible, and it will get you what you need as far as vitamins are concerned.
So as an alternative, like canned goods,
granola bars, anything that'll last 6 months, a year, as long as you can. Obviously, if you have canned goods, you're going to want a can opener, as we always tell. And the kids who we teach this to always remind us, you got to have that can opener.
Yes.
Pop Tops are great too, since everybody has those basically now. So that's a good idea.
Most dry food I find, it's been packaged pretty, as long as it's sealed, it's pretty good. And I think most cans now have the top that you pull off. But you never know. Can opener is a good idea.
That's true. Very true. So you might as well. I mean, whatever you can put in there. We don't make people put emergency rations in there because they're hard to find and probably a little bit more expensive than a box of granola bars. But whatever will last long enough, we like to help people.
Okay.
So I'll put this one in there. This is funky looking too. All right. So then we have first aid kit. So this is always something that people should have in their houses all the time. I'm sure everybody has these things already. So things that belong in there obviously are Band-Aids, antiseptic, Neosporin, stuff like that. Anything that'll help to heal a wound and put everything together. There's a bunch of stuff in there. Gauze, probably some medical tape in there too. All sorts of stuff. So that's something that people already have in their house anyways. Great to just put in a kit anytime you have extras and just put it in the bag.
And these items are all common things you can find in a pharmacy.
Yep,
if you want to put together a kit yourself.
And it doesn't have to be in a hard container like this. It could be in just like a Ziploc bag, or anything that you can just throw in there so that it's there if you need it. Because that's really what it's all about, is having it there if you need it. So I'll put this one in there too. Okay, so next let's talk about a flashlight. So this is something that people know to have. They know to have flashlights. People already have them in their houses, but do they have extra batteries is always a question,
That's the question, yes.
Okay, so we recommend always having extra batteries and having those in your kit, but you got to have the flashlights, number one.
Every time I have a few flashlights in my house, and it seems like every time you don't use them for long periods of time, and when I go reach for it, I turn it on, batteries are dead. So the batteries, I think, is a very important point, to make sure that you're changing the batteries, or at least have some spare batteries with you, so that when you turn that flashlight on, when you need it, and during a power outage, without a flashlight in the middle of the night, you really can't see anything.
Exactly. So you can always, you can leave the batteries in the flashlight and change it once a month, once every 2 months. You can always leave those batteries right next to that flashlight. So when you go to grab the flashlight, the batteries are right there, and then you can just put it in there pretty quickly and flip it on, and you're good to go. But then you don't know, are the batteries shaped or facing the right way, whatnot. So as long as you have extras, it's the best way to go.
Excellent.
So we'll put this stuff in here. Also, thing you need batteries for is a radio. So this is something that, with batteries, will last much longer than your cell phone, or if the power's out, none of that's working, you can't charge your phone, can't charge your laptop. So a very old style radio, right? We don't even see these anymore.
It's compact.
Exactly. This will work wonders for keeping you informed, which is a step of being Red Cross ready. So you can listen for weather updates. You can listen for places that are closed, roads that are closed. They'll probably have announcements of shelters being open and whatnot on the radio. We do what we can to get the information out. Also, having some entertainment. I mean, you put music on. Sometimes that really helps calm people. So we like to say that too.
Yeah, and as you mentioned earlier, your cell phone, the battery will only last so long, and it's good to save that battery too, just in case you do need to call somebody or somebody needs to call you.
Exactly.
Go to the radio and use that battery instead.
Yep, that's just as easy, and it lasts a lot longer than your cell phone, which will only last a day or two. Next thing, we have whistle. So a whistle is incredibly important, and people really don't know about it. So you should really have a whistle in your car, attached to your keys, in your house, wherever. So if you are ever by yourself or far from civilization, or there's nobody around, and your voice is gonna go if you're yelling for 20 minutes. You're not gonna be able to yell anymore. So a whistle you can blow on for hours, and it'll reach more people because you're not tiring out your own voice, it's just breathing.
No, that's something that I think you wouldn't think about as an emergency tool, but like you said, a whistle can come in very handy when somebody's looking for someone else and it's dark out, there's no power. You follow the sound of the whistle. Yep,
and you can always throw one, in your glove compartment, and then, like I said, on your keys is a great way because you always have it with you. And then if something's happening to you, maybe when you're outside or you find a dangerous situation, maybe something happens with your car and there's nobody around, always good to have the whistle. So we recommend that, as many whistles as possible, and they're so cheap, so cheap. Okay, so that's the whistle. So another thing that's great if you're by yourself, you need to signal somebody, or if the power goes out and you can't find your flashlight or your battery's dead, is a glow stick. So a glow stick we've all seen in many different situations, but it's great because it'll last for like 12 hours. So if you know it's going to be dark all night and you want to have a light constantly, you don't want to waste those batteries, a glow stick is great. It's a lot brighter than we think it is in the dark.
Yeah, when it's dark. And my kids love these at the street fairs. They always pick up the little glow items, and they are very bright and they're very useful.
And you can also, if you are in a crowd, or if you want to be able to see, the kids or wherever, you can get the very skinny ones that you can put around their wrists as bracelets or necklaces or something, so that it's easier to see them, and then you don't have to worry about shouting their name all the time and whatnot. So that's what's great about a glow stick. Excuse me. Okay, so another great thing is an emergency poncho. So people have these all over the place. You can buy them at any pharmacy, grocery stores. It's easy. So this is great for not only when it's raining, but also keeping things waterproof if it starts to rain and you're stuck outside for some reason, or whatever the reason could be. Having the poncho is always great.
And staying dry is one of the most important things when you're exposed, especially if the temperature is not that great.
Absolutely. And even when you're in a bad situation or an unhappy situation, you always remember at least it's not raining. Yeah. So at least it's not raining and you're dry,
Yes,
If it starts to rain, at least you're dry and comfortable enough. So along the lines with poncho is plastic sheeting. So this is something you could grab at any home improvement store. Some people have it in their houses, some people don't, but it's great for maybe in a flood, the windows went with the flood, so you can use this around the window, or you can use it for really anything, protecting it from water or the elements or dust or whatever it may be that day. So that's what's going with plastic sheeting.
Great.
Also, I don't have it in this kit, but duct tape is enormous. So usually it's in this one. We might have taken it out to add it to another kit. But duct tape is really great. So if you combine plastic sheeting and duct tape, or garbage bags and duct tape, you can waterproof anything, anything that could fit.
We've heard the stories of how useful duct tape can be.
Exactly. So having duct tape in there is great. Next time you're picking up a roll, pick up 2 and throw it in there. It's so easy, and it'll help you fix basically anything.
Very useful.
That's the great thing about duct tape. Okay, so then we have work gloves. So this is great if you, for any reason, something happens in your house and you want to start cleaning up, or you can't maybe you have to break a window to get out of the house, and you have to grip the sides of the window to get out. You don't want to do that with your bare hands because you're going to get it all cut up. We're going to need the first aid kit. It's going to be problems.
Right.
So you slip these on. We saw a lot of people without these when we were in Fort Plain, and then we started as soon as we could supplying them because no matter what you're doing, you're going to want to protect the things you use most, which is your hands. So that and a surgical mask, that's another thing you could have in the kit. Easy to pick up at any home improvement store. They have the shell masks.
Similar to when you're doing sheetrocking or...
Yep.
Okay.
Exactly. So, because you never really know with a disaster what it's going to expose, the air to. Right. There could be mold, there could be dust everywhere. I mean, anything could be exposed. So you might as well have just a little bit of protection for your breathing and for your hands because you need them so much. Okay. So that's why we have work gloves. Last two things. So this is a storage water container. So it looks pretty big. I think it holds 2.5 gallons. So this is something maybe or maybe not would be easy for you to find. It depends on where you live, how close, your Home Depot or Lowe's or whatever your home improvement store is. Maybe it'll have it at some grocery stores or, a Target kind of thing, Walmart maybe. So there's all sorts of places you can look for this. You can also look it up online. What this is really great for is to hold a big thing of water when you come upon a, water fountain or some sort of spigot that you can put a bunch of water in. Even if it's not great for drinking, you can wash with it, and sometimes being clean just does so much for your mindset when you can clean up a little bit.
Sure.
Wash your face and your hands, and you don't feel so out of place.
And like you're saying, when you find a water source, you can only drink so much, you can only use so much.
Yep.
To have something to store it and take it with you, really, really valuable tool.
Yep, and if you have those water bottles in your Go Kit and then you come upon, a hose, you can fill this up, and this can be for cooking and for your hand, your body, and then the other stuff can be for the drinking because that's clean.
Yeah.
So that's why. So we'll put this away. All right, last thing I want to mention for the kit is this emergency blanket. So we've talked about this before. Emergency blankets, people use this in camping all the time, and when people maybe have been exposed and gotten hypothermia, sometimes ambulances have it in case people with shock need it afterwards. So what it does, it's basically thinner than aluminum foil, and it looks like aluminum foil. It's all metal.
It does seem very thin.
It's very thin, thinner than you think, like thinner than paper, very thin. But it doesn't rip that easily as long as you're gentle with it. And what it does is it reflects your body heat directly. So you're cold anywhere, you put this thing on, it's just going to reflect all that body heat right onto you. Because no matter how cold you think you are, your body's still warmer than it is outside. So it's always good to have this, just in case. You never know who's going to get cold or who's going to go into shock from maybe losing their house or their car or something like that.
And this does cover your whole body, and it's stored in a nice compact package. Hardly takes up any space in a glove compartment.
That's right. It's big. It's bigger than like a twin bed. I mean, they're big, so they're great. You can completely wrap yourself in it, so that's great. So the emergency blanket is always key to have. And the last thing that we have our Go Kit all set up is this little safety tube. So we don't sell these individually on our website, but what it does is it just represents having like a Ziploc bag full of a couple of things, in your car or anywhere, just in case. Just a little one. So what we have in here is a mask, so just in case you're exposed to gases or dust or whatever, like we talked about before. A whistle, always great. A light stick, so the glow stick we talked about. Water pouch. I don't think there's very much water in here, but it's enough that if you're starting to get really dehydrated, then it's there. And then an emergency blanket, which is also great too. So.
And again, it's all compact. You would probably not even notice it's in your glove compartment.
Exactly, or in the trunk, whatever. So it's also great in cars and whatever you're using on a daily basis to have water and food stored up. At least those two things. A couple bottles of water. You never know when you're going to use them. If you're going to get stuck in an accident or maybe stuck in traffic, maybe there's somebody around you who's going to need it, so you can always be the person who helps out.
And all these items, again, are on your website. That website, again?
Is redcross.org, and you can go to redcross.org/prepare. You can look up Go Kit or Make a Kit, something like that. On our website, there's a search box. Search for whatever you're looking for. You can also take classes on how to be prepared. We teach them. And then you can take classes on other things, which is what we offer. So like first aid and CPR are great things to have in an emergency or out of an emergency. Having those kind of tools really, really helps.
Julie, thank you for going through that Go Kit for the people watching to help them be better prepared. We're going to take a short break. When we return, we're going to talk more about being better prepared in emergency situations and more about Go Kits. Welcome back to the show. We have been talking about Go Kits, something that's very important and can serve to be very useful in an emergency situation. We've been talking with Julie Pariato from the American Red Cross of Northeastern New York. Julie, thank you for going through all those items. All of them are very, very important, and most of them, as you were going through the Go Kit, most of these things were lying around the house anyways, in my house anyway, and they just weren't assembled in a nice package like this. But certainly this makes people aware and helps be better prepared to kind of put these things in a kit and have them in a location where you can find them in an emergency. Where should people keep their Go Kit once they have it assembled?
Okay, so once you have it assembled, where you can keep it, there's a bunch of different places. If you live in a house, you can keep it, under your kitchen sink. That's a great place. We used to sometimes tell people to keep it in their basement, like on their basement steps, but once Fort Plain hit and I saw those houses, I realized that was kind of an awful idea. Because if there's a flood, that's the first place that gets hit.
Yeah.
So now we've started saying, by the front door, maybe underneath the coat rack or where the shoes go, something like that. So that's good. It can just have a little spot there. Underneath the kitchen sink is good. In a cupboard that maybe has a little bit of extra space. And you can use, old things that you don't use anymore, old eyeglasses or and put it in an old tote bag with a zipper. Whatever you have, you don't necessarily have to go on a shopping spree for this.
Now, is it important to maybe have several Go Kits? Maybe one in the garage, one in the house, one in the car?
That's a great idea, actually. Definitely having one in the car and one in the house is big because you never know where or when you're going to be when it hits. Also, a lot of times people have an evacuation will happen and people just get in their car right away and go, and they won't think, wow, I should really go grab a few things or grab my Go Kit. So then you already have one in the car. At least you got some stuff. A garage is also a pretty good idea, especially if you have to go in the garage before you leave, or if you have to get out of the house, maybe there's a fire in the house, you run, in the backyard towards the garage, whatever the situation may be.
And certainly, as you said, these items are all very important, but if you don't have all of them, it's okay. If you have most of them, put them in a kit anyway. It's better to be as prepared as possible when disaster strikes.
That's right.
And we also mentioned that there's a full list of these items that we are recommending for your Go Kit on the website.
Yep.
You also talked about some classes.
Yes.
When people are up on the website, what else can they find on there as far as that
So
goes?
the preparedness team, the team that I run, teaches classes all over the community. We have them in elementary schools and camps and senior centers and all over the place. But if you want to schedule a class, maybe you can call us. We can schedule a class for your community center, your community people. You can also go on redcross.org/take-a-class or just click the Take a Class link, and you can learn things like CPR and first aid. We have a new pet first aid class that's becoming very popular where you actually bring your pets. Everybody brings their pet in and they practice first aid. We've also had these new, we have the Annie dolls, so those are the ones we do the CPR on. We now have one for a puppy. So there's a stuffed animal of a puppy and we put the tube in it so that you can do first aid on that. So we have those classes. We also have lifeguarding, we have babysitting, we have just all sorts of stuff. There's such a good listing.
Yeah, and all the classes seem to be very useful in one way or another, the CPR especially, and it's something that people could sign up for and find a location in their area, or is there a central location? Or can they come to the office?
You can take a class with us at the Red Cross at the office. My team specifically teaches a compression only class that only lasts about 15 minutes. Okay. So if there's a community building or a bunch of people that get together, at a library or whatever, we can come and teach that for free.
Okay.
My team can, but it's just compressions. You can also get an instructor from our health and safety department, and they will teach the full class that includes the breathing and compressions and everything. But that one has a cost associated to it because then you're certified, and there's a bit of a difference between being certified and just getting a brush up.
Well, certainly, if you haven't visited the website yet, give out that website one more time.
Redcross.org.
Redcross.org. Take a look at it. There's a lot of interesting information. You can find out how to put a Go Kit together. Take a class or two if you see something that might be useful to you or your family. Also, you have a Twitter account that people can follow.
We do. So if you go on, you can search Google for Twitter, Red Cross, NENY, Northeastern New York, NENY. It'll pull us up. You can search us on Twitter. We hashtag all sorts of things. And we're on Facebook, and we're all over the place. You hit Google, we'll be everywhere.
And I've been following Red Cross on Twitter, and there is a lot of useful information that comes across, especially when things are happening with regard to recent news and what's happening in areas that have been affected by natural disasters.
Like we had a shelter open last week that we were tweeting about where it was when it was open.
And the most interesting thing that I found is the apps that you talked about earlier. Those are very useful. If you get a chance to stop into and visit the website, take a look at the apps. They sit on your phone until you need them, and then they come in very, very handy.
Yep.
Any other particular items about Go Kits that we should know about?
Biggest things for Go Kits are water, food, a whistle, a flashlight, and a first aid kit. Those are your 3 top ones. So you can get whatever kind of food will last long in a kit, canned food, granola bars, whatever the deal may be. Water, a couple bottles of water is easy. You can get these emergency water packets, but bottled water works just as well. Flashlights, even though they seem obsolete at some points, always necessary, especially with extra batteries there. And then a first aid kit. So people have these things around anyways. That's the big thing. All you have to do is just put them in a central location. And then the whistle. It's so much easier to blow on a whistle than it is to yell for hours at a time. So that is why we have people get the whistles. And then a radio too. That's always good to have. Your cell phone's going to die a lot faster.
Now we talked about during the break we talked about flashlights.
Yes.
Now my daughter has a flashlight that you crank. You wind it up and it makes light. What can you say about those types of flashlights?
Those are great. We actually have crank radios and crank flashlights. Okay. So they make the battery thing not really important anymore, which is fantastic. So you can get those through our website. I know you can get them. You can also get them in all sorts of other places. You just look up where you can find them online, and you can find, a crank flashlight that you never have to worry about batteries for again. Same thing with the radio. Always great to have, and then you can put them all over their house, and then they have them whenever they're necessary.
Great. Well, I want to thank you for being on the show. If you haven't had a chance to visit the website, redcross.org, find out about everything that goes into a Go Kit. A very important tool. Have several of them in the house, in the car, or in the garage to help you be better prepared in the case of an emergency. Julie, I want to thank you for being on the show. I want to thank you for your work with the Red Cross, and I want to thank the Red Cross for responding so quickly to emergencies in our area.
You're welcome. Thank you for inviting me.
Thank you. Thank you, and join us again here next time where we'll talk more about things going on in your community and being better prepared in the case of an emergency. Thank you.